having a tiny Gemma on your wrist and doing these magical things is incredibly powerful. And there's a lot of effort in making sure that this works high efficiently and gives the most powerful AI in the world right now, Gemini.
Welcome to the Made by Google podcast, where we meet the people who work on the Google products you love. Here's your host, Rashid Finj.
Today, we're talking about how we use AI on your wrist. Pixel Watch 3 and 4 have incredible new gestures that help you to control your watch with just one hand. And did you know that Pixel Watch 4 actually has a real large language model on it? To learn more, we're talking today to Senior Product Manager Munjal Shah.
This is the Made by Google podcast.
Munjal, when was the first time you thought, oh, I could definitely use a gesture on my Pixel Watch?
A great question. You know, one of the interesting things about watch in specific or general wearable is that watch is always on your wrist 24/7. And there are so many interactions which you do with your watch during the day, whether it's notification or replying a text message or checking something on your calendar or asking Gemini something. You know, we have been programmed to use touch as a primary mechanism, and that's what we just take it for granted, and that's what we always do, which is the most natural thing to do, to be honest. But then as the watch became more and more powerful, and especially the AI on the wrist, for me, it became very natural when I started using it all for my productivity coming out of the watch, that I needed a more natural way to interact with it, which doesn't take me away from my moment or from what I'm doing, but it sort of works as my companion, but I want to be able to interact with it in the most natural way. So gestures came as a part of that thinking. So for me, the gestures is a way to interact or put an input to your watch, just like how touch is. So problem which I wanted to think about solving was like, how do we actually make the watch so easy to give an input so that I don't have to use my other hand to touch it because I'm already carrying grocery on my other hand, or I'm busy doing something with my other hand on my phone, or I'm having my toddler on me. And so those moments is when I realized it's like, okay, we do need a hands-free way to interact with the watch, and gestures came as a natural extension of your watch because there's so much magic your fingers can do, and we were not utilizing that fully. So it really came out of the fact that I needed those hands-free interactions for those moments where touch became very hard to do.
Oh, and I think we're all familiar with all the situations you mentioned. So
Yep.
We recently introduced some gestures on Pixel Watch. Can you walk us through which ones we have and what they do for us?
The two gestures you have right now on Pixel Watch 3 and 4 available is double pinch and wrist turn. So double pinch is basically use your index finger and a thumb and just to pinch twice, take an action, really simple. And one of my favorite, of course, is wrist turn. So wrist turn is really simple. You just flick your wrist to go away.
So Munjal, if you haven't heard this conversation, how would you know which gesture to use when?
We put a lot of efforts in thinking about making sure that user gets that muscle memory, that there's a better way to interact with your watch or take an action on your watch. So one of the most intuitive things we have done when it comes to gestures is called visual hints. So what happens is when, let's say you get an incoming phone call, there'll be a little animation which shows up on your primary button. So let's say you're going to accept the phone call or not. You'll see a tiny hint to show you the gesture. And those hints are extremely intuitive, so that it kind of gives you a little nudge saying, hey, there's a better way to interact with your watch or take an action. Why don't you just use double pinch gesture for it? You can answer an incoming phone call with a simple double pinch. You can snooze your alarm with a simple double pinch. You can manage your timer or stopwatch with a simple double pinch. Let's say you are on the go and you get notifications and you quickly glance through it, but then you say, okay, I'm going to deal with this later. You can just do a simple wrist turn to make it go away, which you can always see later. And Other thing which we also went was music is a huge part of our life. And we listen to music while we are working out, while we are walking out, or I listen to music when I'm walking my dogs out. So one of the most beautiful things is that I don't have to go away from what I'm doing while I'm working out or something. I can just do a simple double pinch to play and pause the media.
Was there any sort of unexpected challenge during testing and building that you had to cater for?
Yeah, great question. I think, it's interesting, like as we are developing double pinch or wrist turn, or in general, to be honest, for any feature we develop, it's like there are 500 decisions we have to make on daily basis, and there are trade-offs to each one of them. So one of the things I think we always keep in mind is like we start from the user and work backwards. What is the best thing we want to do for our users, and then work backwards like, hey, what are the ways we can solve this problem? So one thing which we realized as we were developing both double pinch and wrist turn gestures on Pixel Watch was that there's a specific patterns which we want to look for when you actually do the double pinch or wrist turn in the sensors, right? So it's very obvious when you do a very hard pinch. So like if you're really one of those folks who actually pinches really like pressure, puts a lot of pressure when you're pinching, that is actually something which we can detect comfortably. So, but there are sort of users we realize as we were testing and as we were, doing some validations that people do soft pinches. There are a set of users who doesn't open like this much. They actually just do this much. Is that something we can support? And we made sure that there's enough coverage in terms of data collection and model training that this is also covered.
The question, of course, on my mind is how do you teach the watch what that gesture looks like? And as well as, because I guess we've had situations, on the original Pixel Watch where you could raise your watch and then the screen would turn on or off. So I guess you already had sort of covered the idea of raising or turning the wrist. But then with the pinch, that seems a bit more complicated to detect. So I'm particularly curious about that. How does the watch know that I'm double pinching?
As you described, right, the one-handed gestures journey started back when simple tilt-to-wake gestures came up, which is like you tilt your wrist and screen wakes up. So sort of users were already doing that, right? And then that's a very familiar gesture to the user. And the way the double pinch and wrist turn works is we utilize internal sensors. So the sensors which are packed on your watch, we wanted to make sure we make the best use of it in the most power efficient manner. So of course we don't want to, have the most natural way for you to interact with the watch, but that's going to take away the battery life. So we wanted to make sure that the gestures run on most power efficient way. So that's one. The second pillar we had is basically what we do is like we use IMU, which is inside your watch. Excel.
And what is that? Sorry.
Inertial measurement unit, and we use Excel and gyro of your sensors to detect your movements. When you do this double pinch, there's a movement happening in this area, and that's where the Excel and gyro movement happens, and we recognize that pattern.
Sort of feel something on your wrist moving. Is that?
Yeah. So when you do double pinch, you will feel like, hey, there's a vibration happens, which watch picks up. And we look at that pattern in terms of like, hey, is there a pattern when you do double pinch versus some other things? It's like, and we detect those patterns and run it through ML train model with various data. And that's how we detect the double pinch and wrist turn. So it's really the magic of Excel and gyro. Other thing is also interesting is that one thing we keep very carefully in mind is that this is the most natural way of interacting with the watch, right? So we wanted to make sure that it works for everybody, because the way I do double pinch might be very different the way you do double pinch, and or somebody else does double pinch. And the way I do wrist turn is very different in terms of speed, in terms of velocity, in terms of the the pressure I put on my wrist. Everybody does it very naturally. So we wanted to make sure that it not only works for Google or Googlers, but it also works for all of our millions of users as well. So I think one thing we had to make sure is there's a tremendous effort in making sure that data is being collected with vast variety of various sensor patterns, and making sure those particular data collection is being actually used or analyzed for this ML training.
So I guess if and we at Google want to make AI for everyone. You're not only, I think, but you correct me if I'm wrong, trying to collect enough data to train the AI, but also, I guess, a very diverse set. Maybe people pinch differently in one part of the country versus the others. Maybe there's a difference between wearing it on your left wrist versus your right wrist. So that's probably something also you need to take into account then.
That is correct. I think everybody does gestures or double pinch. There's a wide variety of how people does double pinch or wrist turn. And you can, of course, categorize them that these are soft pinches versus hard pinches and others. But on top of that, there's also wrist preferences. So user wearing on left wrist has a different way and it has a different pattern compared to the right wrist. So we do both, right? We wanted to make sure that the gesture works in all condition. And there's also, to your point, is like there's cultural differences, so making sure that there's a wide collection of these various ways of doing double pinch and wrist turn across different cultures and also different countries. So we collect the data to make sure there's enough coverage of this all corner cases as well.
There's still one gesture, maybe one of the most powerful ones that we didn't talk about, and that is raise to talk to Gemini, of course. How did that come about? And is that much different than the other gestures to build that?
Very different. So, like I said, I think I'm extremely fortunate to work on natural interactions of Pixel Watch. And from the very beginning, when I joined Google, I was focusing on natural interactions. And one of the ways we were thinking about Gemini and integration of Gemini onto the Pixel Watch was we knew how powerful Gemini is, and we knew the power of AI on the wrist is going to be incredible value for our users and customers. So we wanted to make sure that we do in Gemini on the watch, but at the same time, we do it in the most natural way. And the existing methods we had available at the time, which is, of course, the Hey Google or push to talk, which you can press the side button for a few seconds and it will trigger Gemini. Those still exist. Those are very reliable methods which our customers use every single day, but still had that friction we felt, and that it needed me to say, Hey Google. It needed me to use my other hand and press those buttons. So Race to Talk really came about was how do I make sure that Gemini is invocable in most natural interaction way. So that's how the idea came up. And the most natural interaction way is you are going to talk with Gemini. Why don't you just raise your hand? And that's where really the Race to Talk feature came up. We also wanted to make sure that there's a visual indicator which shows up, which lets you know that motion has been detected and you can now talk to Gemini. So, and that's why you see that little blue glow, right? When you raise your wrist, you will see a little blue glow on the bottom, which lets you know that, hey, motion has been detected. If you want to talk to Gemini, just raise your watch close to your mouth and start talking. So one of the way I do is like, I just quickly glance and see the motion indicator and start talking about it. And as you can see, it's very smart enough to figure out whether you're intending to do it or you are not intending to do it. But the key thing there is that you raise your wrist close to your mouth and start talking as soon as you see the visual indicator. And we felt that was the most natural way to do it, but at the same time, it gives the user a sense of comfort that, hey, now I can start talking with it. You have this tiny window. As soon as the visual indicator appears, you need to start talking. But that's basically to make sure that it doesn't trigger when you don't want to trigger it.
Do you mind if we geek out for just a second, Munjal? Because I'm curious about something. With the gestures like double pinch, once it is detected, it needs to act on it, right? Like it needs to pick up the phone call, for example. But I have the feeling that with Race to Talk, Gemini could still maybe, once the blue indicator is there, figure out like, oh, maybe the person didn't actually intend to speak to me. So you sort of have like a second chance of detecting the false positive, right?
That is correct. So I think the way, if you think about when you want to interact with Gemini and when you don't want to interact with Gemini, there's we have something called cancellation gesture as well. So like when you start doing this and you're moving your hand, we know this is not your intention, right? So a lot of users actually start talk with their hand movements. It's one of them, one of me as well. So like I oftentimes use my hand as I'm talking. So the model is trained for those scenarios. So it knows when you're actually just moving your hand in a pattern where we think that you're not intending to talk to Gemini. Raise to talk gesture is very intentional, right? You're raising your wrist close to your mouth and then start talking as soon as the indicator appears. So there's a little bit of hold, right? So like you raise your wrist and there's a tiny bit of hold you have because you want to put your speech into the mic. So yes, I think there's the model is trained in a way to detect those cancellations in a very smart way. And then model is also trained in a way when it knows that you're intending to talk to Gemini. So the pro tip I have for raise to talk is like raise your watch close to your mouth. If you see indicator, start talking, and it works, very reliably.
Do you ever step back and think about how far we've come? I mean, I'm guessing we're maybe sort of the same age, but there was like this TV show in the 80s that also ran into the 90s where David Hasselhoff played a character talking to his watch to summon his car, for example, which seemed like sci-fi back then, but by now, that's actually completely possible. Do you ever step back and realize like, wow, we truly live in the future now?
Yeah, no, it's an incredible feeling. And to be honest, it's even more incredible to get to work on it. So I feel myself extremely fortunate to be part of these journeys and bringing all this value to our customers. But, to your point, I think as the technology matured, it allowed us to do a lot more with the technology, and especially with the watch is in a very unique position. I'm going to repeat myself what I said earlier, but watch being on your wrist 24/7 is the most accessible device you have on user's hand, and it's most personal, and it needs to work as a companion. So one example is, like I mentioned, raise to talk. We wanted to make sure that it works, but also we recognize that not everybody is gonna do the motion correctly. So, or not everybody is gonna speak at the volume which we are training the set to default at. We made sure that there are settings available in wrist to talk. If you go to Pixel Watch settings and wrist gestures and wrist to talk, you will see a motion sensitivity setting and a voice sensitivity setting. So you have those controls, right? So if you see like, hey, I want to make sure my motion is more controlled, and then you lower down the sensitivity. If you want to make it more seamless and easier, make it go to the highest level. Same with voice. I want to bring it more close to my mouth, make it lower. And if you want to keep it most accessible Gemini ever, then increase the level. So I think to answer your question is like, the technology is going to be there to now, and it's only going to evolve. AI on your wrist is going to only increase the productivity of the user with the goal in mind that it does it in the most natural way. But at the same time, it needs to recognize that to give user a sense of control when how the technology is evolving. So we make sure that while we are developing the most natural interactions, we have to recognize that there is a possibility and set of users who might want it differently.
So we're talking today about how we use AI to help you on your wrist. And that means we also, Munjal, need to talk about smart replies. Of course, seen them in Gmail many, many years ago already. But what's different about them on the watch?
The message on the watch has two aspects, right? One is being able to look at the message and then in your brain, you are thinking about a response. Wouldn't it be great if Tiny Gemma does that work for you and then gives you the response in real time? If it does that in longer latency, your mind might be faster to think about the response than Tiny Gemma. And that might not be useful. Then you might feel like, okay, this is too slow for me. I'll rather just take my phone out and type the response. So being the ability to have it 2 times faster and running locally is incredibly powerful because it almost works as you're reading the messages in the background, work doing the job for you to craft that most appropriate response. And then you can use double pinch to actually select and then do a double pinch to confirm and send it. So incredibly important performance metric when it comes to smart replies, because latency is everything.
Well, Munjal, all I can say then is please come back next time once we have expanded to even more natural interactions on Pixel Watch. And thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely. Oh, more than happy to. And thank you so much for having me. It was a wonderful conversation.
Thank you for listening to the Made by Google podcast. Don't miss out on new episodes. Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts to be the first to listen.